Ohio. Durres, the second largest and the richest with sites, the city of Albania. Also Brindisi is located on the coast of the Adriatic Sea in 33 km to the west of Tirana, opposite to the Italian ports of Bari, and 300 km to the west, and 200 km. Population about 175,000 people. 2011. It is founded in 627 BB under the name Epidam. The Greek colonists from the city of Corinth and from the island of Corfu on the Illyrian coast. Epidam was constructed in a place very favorable to defense. The harbor created by the nature is surrounded from the land with swamps, and from the sea high rocks that did the city unapproachable. The political system of ancient Epidam was eulogized in the works by Aristotle. However, the policy tore apart the constant internal conflicts between Kerkyriana and Corinthians. These conflicts and also exile of oligarchs from Epidam in 435 late BB, the foundation for the Peloponnesian War in 431 BB. In 312 BB the city was occupied by the Illyrian Zarglavki. In 229 BB on Epidam the Illyrian queen Tefta attacked, but the same year I left the city, running from Romans. Romans renamed the city into Durres, as they considered the former name ominous prediction. Latin of damnum, defeat, loss. The word Durres etymology, Greek also means Dakrabetni or Dvakubusni. The Greek Demetri Farovsky, who came over to the side after Illyrian pirates during the Second Illyrian War, was appointed the governor of the city. In 219 BB Romans returned themselves the city again. In 168 BB on Durres the Illyrians Argenti attacked, then the city passed to Romans again. In 146 BB the city is attached to the province Macedonia. Ignatieva road constructed at the same time, well known, conducted from Durres across Macedonia, Thrace, through Thessaloniki, Amphipolis, Philippa and Byzanti. Other road went south to the city of Butratum, modern Butrint. From 59th year BB Durres was a part of the Roman province of Illyric. In Durres sometime there lived in exile Cicero. In the 48th year BB near Durres there was a battle between Pompey and Caesar. The Emperor Octavian Augustus made Durres a veteran colony and moved the legionaries serving to him during civil war and in battle at Actium here. The city received the status of the sovereign city, Civitas Libera. Durres reached the blossoming in the 4th century when during administrative reform new Epirus was made the Emperor Diocletian. 245-313. The main town of the Roman province. In 314 Durres is almost destroyed by an earthquake, but then built again up. In 395 the city departed Byzantium, having remained the center of the province of Durres. Throughout several centuries Durres remained one of the major Byzantine cities on Adriatic Sea. About 430 future Emperor of Byzantium Anastasius I was born here. In 481 it is besieged and destroyed by the Ostrogothic king Theodoric. According to Procopius of Scythopolis's message. War with Gat 7. 29. In 548 the army of Slavin passed Danube and left to Adriatic Sea at Epidam. In 842 the city of Durres with the attached territories inhabited by Greeks and Albanians formed a new FEMA of Durres, 2,000 people numbering from the army. Simeon Bulgarski in wars with Byzantium. 893-927. Captured Durres in the north of Afema Nikopol. During this period the city receives the new, Bulgarian name Drac. Between 1000–1018 the first Bulgarian kingdom was won by Byzantium and Epirus is returned in structure of the empire. Fema Durres it was restored, and the Fema Nicopolis found the old borders in the north. In the fall of 1081 the fleet of the Duke of Apulia, Calabria and Sicily Robert Guiscard, by origin the Norman, began a long siege of the city. Durres' defenders directed by the emperor's relative, Georgi Palaiolog with firmness kept. In October 1081 to the aid of Durres there arrived at the head of fresh army the Emperor Alexis I Comnene. On October 18, 1081 between Robert Guiscard and Alexei Comnene's troops the fight at the Rakia described by Anna Komnena and Alexiada took place. On February 21, 1082 in several months after retreat of the Byzantine army, Robert managed to take Durres, but in 1084 the Venetian fleet, allied to Byzantium, fought the city off Normans. In 1108 Durres was besieged by Bohemond Antiochus, Robert Guiscard's son, and on June 11, 1185 is won by the Sicilian king Wilhelm II. After conquest of Constantinople in 1204 at the section of production of the 3/8 of the territory of the Byzantine Empire, including Durres, departed to Venice. Mikhail Angel Komnen, the relative of the Nizverzeni Greek imperial house, based at Persky here to which belonged Epirus, a part of today's Albania and Thessaly. In 1258 the city passed to the Sicilian king Manfred Gegenstaufen as a dowry of the despot of Epirus Mikhail II to the daughter Alena. In 1272 Charles I Antiochus won from despots of Epirus Durres renamed by then into Durazzo and the most part of Albania and proclaimed himself the king of Albania. Durazzo became a part of the Neapolitan kingdom. Together with the Neapolitan dominion the Catholic belief also came to the city. In 1278 the first Dominican monastery was built here. In 1273 Durazzo is destroyed by an earthquake, but again is soon built up and strengthened. In 1309 the city became the sovereign duchy under control of the grandson Charles I, Giovanni, the Duke Durazzo. In 1313 the duchy passed to his brother Philip I Terensky. Thus, except for 2 short periods of government here of the Byzantine Emperor Andronicus II, 1286, 1294, 1297 Ap. 1300. The Anglo-Sicilian house owned the city. In 1333 the city is annexed by the Achaean Principality, and soon after that, in 1336, occupied by the Serbian king Stefan Dusan. After his death in 1355 Durazzo passes to the Albanian princes of Tapia. Since 1367 the Prince Karl Tapia owned the city, but in 1392 his son Georgi sold the city to Venetians. Durazzo, who became a part of the Venetian Albania, sustained a siege of the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II in 1466. But fell in 1501 when he was captured by Mehmed's son, the Sultan Bayezid II. The city belonged to Turkey up to the beginning of the 20th century. The most part of the population was turned into Islam, churches are reconstructed in the mosque. In Turkish the city was called Durres. Once blossoming city gradually lost the value, and in the middle of the 19th century totaled only 1,000 inhabitants. The foreigners who visited here at the beginning of the 20th century described Durres as the city surrounded with the gone to pieces walls and representing nearly one ruins. The Byzantine citadel doesn't exist anymore, and the harbor is almost propped by sand. Durres was one of the centers of the Albanian national liberation movement in 1878, 1881 and 1910-1912. On November 26, 1912 over the city the Albanian colors are hoisted, but 3 days later the city is occupied by Serbians during the First Balkan War. On March 7, 1913 Durres became the first capital of Albania under the leadership of Prince Wilhelm Vida. In October 1918 troops of the Entente entered here. After obtaining independence by Albania, Durres was the temporary capital of Albania from 1918 to March 1920. In 1915, during World War I it is occupied by Italy, and then Austria-Hungary in 1916-1918. During rule of the King Ahmed Zogu the city endured the real economic boom after receiving the Italian investments. In 1927 the modern port is built and the city became the main seaport of Albania. In 1926 the city was partially destroyed by an earthquake, then the image of the city became more modern. During World War II those who again became Tudorozo, and a part of Albania were annexed by the Kingdom Italy. 1939-1943. Then it is occupied by the German troops till 1944. The city strongly suffered from raids of Allied troops, and the port was blown up by the receding German troops. During rule of Enver Hoxha the city for short term was reconstructed, and the port is expanded. Here the heavy industry was postponed. In 1947 the first railroad in Albania is started up. In 1980 the car building plant is constructed. In the late 80s the city was renamed into Durres Enver Hoxha. In the 1990s Durres became the center of Massachusetts migration of the Albanian population to the neighboring Italy. Just for August 1991 more than people moved to Italy. Italy was forced to take port under the military control, and the European Union provided humanitarian aid by food for persons in need. This program received the name Operation Pelican. In 1997 the economy of Albania finally failed after a failure of a financial pyramid. Durres and other Albanian cities included peacekeeping Italian troops. During the war in Kosovo in 1999 the city accepted more than refugees and became the center of receiving humanitarian aid to refugees for all Albania. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.